Hello everyone, Sam Diaz here and welcome to this video. Now, this is how to score an action film part 1. It's going to be part 1 of a 2-part series, and the second part is going to be more like, just a very full-on session of me scoring an action scene from beginning to end. So it's going to be a lot longer, maybe like 2 to 3 hours. This one though is going to be me giving you my top tips on how to score an action scene fairly quickly and very efficiently. In the Bridgerton sort of competition, I noticed a lot of people were spending a long time on their scores, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, the more time you have, chances are the better it's going to be, because you have more time to flesh things out, to re-examine the mix, the instrumentation, orchestration, your melody, and all that good stuff. But the reality is, when you get on a score on a real life project and someone hires you to do a score, they don't give you any time whatsoever. I mean, like in the majority of my cases, sometimes depending, like if you get on early, yeah, you might have time, but in most cases they don't give you a time at all. I've had to do scores where I've had to score the entire thing, like a 10-minute dramatic piece in a day. Like I get it in the morning and I have to work all day and deliver it at night. That happened to me with a Christmas dramatic short film that I had to do, and I had to deliver. If not, I lose the gig and I don't get paid. I get fired. They never hire me anymore. So it's a crazy kind of stressful situation, but I've developed some tricks to help me get, past that and start working on it fairly quickly and actually delivering, which is the most important thing, because you can work quickly and deliver a score, but if it sucks, and you're, then that's not a position you want to be in. So we at least want to deliver something that's great. So now for action scenes specifically, it's a little bit different than how I tackle other kind of types of scenes. But I'm going to give you the primary tips and things that I look for when I'm working on it. So let's get started. The first thing is director's notes. So this is a short film that I scored 3 years ago called The Sixth Z by Armando Ferreira and Lucas Colombo. It's a Nikon Z6 video promotion short film, an action piece. If you look at the entire thing, and you can watch this on YouTube, I'll leave the link down below with my original score. It's all pure action. It's nonstop action. It's craziness, but it's fun craziness. Now, the first thing that I do is I ask for director's notes always. And the directors that I work with already know this of me. And if they don't, I make sure that they get this out to me. So my director's notes, I look for 3 major things. The mood, the vibe, right? What kind of mood, what kind of sound are they looking for? Is it an orchestral kind of thing? And if they don't know exactly if it's an orchestral or electronic kind of thing, I kind of ask them for references. I remember I was working on a project and the director didn't know exactly how to explain the instrumentation for me. But I remember in one of those, he mentioned Breaking Bad and how he was a huge fan of Breaking Bad. And as soon as he mentioned that, I'm like, I know exactly what kind of sound you're looking for. And it turns out that's exactly the sound they're looking for, that very industrial, experimental, atonal kind of approach to a film score. And in this case, Lucas already knows that I kind of look for that stuff. So he referenced a score that I sent him a while back called I've Been Spotted. And that's an orchestral action piece that I had done, and he really liked the instrumentation. So I already know orchestral. He mentions here Daft Punk, so I kind of know electronic, and he mentions Muse. So it's going to have some sort of edginess, electronic rock a vibe to it. So that's the first thing I asked for, the vibe. The other thing I asked for is a very specific, detailed list of where they want the music to start and where they want it to stop. And if there are any other specific notes, like emotional wise, dramatic wise, to make a note of that. And I look more for the dramatic description more than anything, because that's going to help me as a composer try to nail that. As opposed to I'm not looking for anything or I don't expect them to be like, okay, so I want staccato strings here and 8 French horns here or whatever. They're never going to do that. And you don't want that. You just want dramatic direction from the directors, and specifically where the music starts, where it stops, where it has its peaks and valleys, that kind of thing. So that's what I look for here. And then this is gonna lead me directly into my next tip, which is make markers, time-based markers. What do I mean by time-based? So if you have a marker track right here, you want to make it time-based seconds. So SEMT time code. Kind of time-based, not musical, because the problem is if you go musical, whenever you change tempos, all the markers are going to move with the tempo. So you want it to lock to the time, and then we're going to work from that. Now, this specific song or video, for example, we want to set it to the right frame rate, and I know for a fact that this is 23.97 whatever FPS. And then this is going to help lock our session together. I don't think I've offset it, but it's fine. We can sort of use the time code here to look at the notes. So for example, our director wants us at 0044 seconds and I guess milliseconds, 7 milliseconds. This is a flashback scene where it would be nice to strip it down to more of that electronic alternate reality memory sound scale. Let's try to make this the mission motif. This should be the first time we're introduced to it, but it shall return later at 1:15 and 2:40. Very, very, very important note, because now we know we have to establish a theme. And this is more of a musical note. Not every director would do this. Lucas happens to be a musician as well. And he's very well versed in film music and has a lot of knowledge of it. So he makes notes like that, but not every director will do that. And it's helpful, but it's not entirely necessary. So if we were to go at 44 seconds, all right, so let's look for 44 seconds here. And I can actually go in here and type it in, but we're already here. So see 44 seconds right here. Let's make that first marker right there. And let's type in that note that he gave us. So electronic down music, mission motif. Okay. So we'll put that marker right there, and we're going to look for our out point for this next section. Should hit semi-hard and bring us into the next level intensity. That's 5610. So let's look for 5610. So this will give me a good idea of where to start. 5610, where are you? Right. Let's right here. This doesn't have to be exact, but we can more or less hit hard, and let's put action music. Now, I do this for all of this before I even start writing a lick of music. I just do put all these markers, and I'll make little notes. And I'll always have this either on a second monitor or minimized, and just bring it up whenever I need it, because this is going to be my guide. This is going to be my map. This is going to help me cut down on so much time and get to the idea a lot quicker. All right. So once I have all this full of my markers, I'm going to try to create the tempo map for all these things. So if I go here, I'm going to first watch back the scene and try to determine,
prepared for this very purpose,
a tempo for it. And I'll do this for the whole piece. There are some pieces where I don't really need tempo. I'll just kind of feel it out, and I'll just, if this is specifically if it's like something that's just that is with long notes or sustains or whatnot. But usually for something that's action, I almost like to have a tempo track, because the hits have to be precise, the percussion has to be precise, and all that stuff. The rhythmic stuff has to be on point. So it's crucial for me to have that tempo map. Now, if I were to go right here, I'm going to listen back, and I'm just going to sort of snap and try to feel out what's the best tempo, what's the internal tempo of the scene. And this is something that comes with time, but you can sort of feel it watching it, and you can just sort of imagine it. It might take several times, watching it to sort of figure it out, but you kind of just get a pace for it. So I'll show you what I mean.
Prepared for this very purpose. If you choose to accept the mission, you will be sent a coded message.
How will I know what I'm supposed to do?
Walk by faith and not by sight.
That actually felt right there. I mean, because he kind of looked at his watch and that, and then he kind of looked back at the screen. That kind of feels right to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tap tempo feature here, where you tap like this literally with the mouse as the scene is going, and try to get that to line up. So let's see.
I've been prepared for this very purpose. If you choose to accept the mission, you will be sent a coded message.
How will I know what I'm supposed to do?
Walk by faith and not by sight.
So let's see.
I've been prepared for this very purpose. I've been prepared for this.
So let me go.
I've been prepared for this very purpose. If you choose to accept the mission, you will be. I've been prepared for this very purpose. If you choose to accept the mission, you will be sent a coded message.
How will I know what I'm supposed to do?
Walk by faith and not by sight.
Close. I think let me see. If I were to bring this down to... Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tempo here and bring it down to 81. And let's see if... maybe a little faster.
Prepared for this very purpose. If you choose.
And what I'm going to do is for the time signature, I'm just going to put it to 1/4. And why I like to score things in 1/4 specifically, it's because a lot of times when you're scoring, I don't know why that did that, but a lot of times when I'm scoring, if I feel like I have to change tempo, like time signatures 3 4 4 4 5 4 4 5 all the time, it's gonna be really annoying, and I'm gonna lose track of it. So I like to just, if it's not going out to orchestra, I like to just do it 1/4.
Prepared for this very purpose. If you choose to accept the mission, you will be sent a coded message.
How will I know what I'm supposed to do?
Walk by faith and not by sight.
And right there you go. Simple as that. So again, markers, you feel out the tempo. You kind of just, here I kind of go back and forth to I find where everything kind of lands. And again, for stuff like this, I just like to put it in 1/4 because it's just so much easier not to have that division. I don't have to think about it because then it'll throw me off. So so that is that. So we got the director's notes, the markers, the tempo changes. Now the other thing that's super important is templates and instrumentation. Now, the director kind of told us for this specific scene, he wants like electronic stuff, right? So I'm going to just pull in, I don't know, just randomly Anitu. I like Anitu a lot. And I'm going to go to lead. I'm going to, let's pick something like clean lead. This is probably not going to be probably not the best for this example, but it's, let me see. But it'll give us an idea of what we want. So I'm going to just quickly one time, let's actually bring the filter down on that. Again, this is not the perfect patch for this. I would probably spend a little bit more time, but for the purposes of this, it's fine.
You have been prepared for this very purpose. If you choose to accept the mission, you will be sent a coded message.
How will I know what I'm supposed to do?
Walk by faith and not by sight.
So let's see.
You have been prepared for this very purpose. If you choose to accept the mission, you will be sent a coded message.
How will I know what I'm supposed to do?
Walk by faith and not by sight.
So I don't know if I want to go to. So let's see. So Stranger Things, but whatever. Maybe that second chord can be something a little bit more ominous. I think that's probably better. So I'm going to just, I'm going to try to perform that. So let's see.
You have been prepared for this very.
Oops, sorry.
You have been prepared for this very purpose. If you choose.
A little slower than I thought. So I'm going to put my mic away.
You have been prepared for this very purpose.
And
if you choose to.
Let me actually mute that. And then I kind of got almost all of it. Let me see. I was actually by accident hitting that G, but I like that dissonance. And then in the next scene we'll go into like, I don't know, I'm just gonna sort of like come up with oops, what did I do? I did not mean to do that. We're gonna add here another thing. We're just gonna pretend that this is gonna be like an action kind of thing. So and then right here. Or something like that. But that'll give us a little bit like a do that again, and let's just pretend to make a tempo here, like out of here, like dun 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 dun, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Something like that. So we'll see. This is again just for not perfect, but it's just, again, this is just to give you an idea. So I'm already, like, just from those notes, I'm already building something like, and I can go in here like, let's see. Now, this is another tip I'm going to give you, which is not, if you want to not guess too much and or speed up things, drag your main instrument into your chord chart like this, and you have something to reference. So D goes to C. Then G sus with the G sus4 with a C. I'm going to go to B flat mostly for that. And then whatever. And then the A with the A5. So let me see if I can go here for the long notes. Let's see. Simple. And then they wanted a mission motif, so let's come up with some. Let's try that. So strings are way too loud, so let me actually turn this off. That's way too loud. Actually, I'm gonna do the horns first and then bring in the to counter that. Oh, and this is really loud too, so let's cut that too, and let's do the French horns now for the main motif. Almost there. We can either do F or E. So that's our main theme. Not the best, but it gives you an idea. So then now we can do some strings to this and add. So let's. All right. And then we can add like we can add another and a 2 here and have some actually, or we can add and a 2, or we can do probably better. We can do like a pulsing bass thing, or we can just do this. Cool. And it has to be a lot louder, so let's bring that up. not sure about that E and the horn, but we'll just leave it for that for now. So as you can see, having all that already, I scored this in what, a couple minutes? And I'm going to the next scene. The next scene. And again, then I'll follow the same notes for that, and it just makes the whole process a lot quicker. Why? Because I did a lot of prep work before I even started writing a lick of music, and I can add more to this if I want to add more, like another, or whatever. I can add like another synth to that or another thing, but I can essentially send this already to the director as it is. And anything I want to add additional, I can always do it on another pass. So that's the my other tip is always have a template already ready with some instruments, with some strings, some brass, some, or whatever it is that the mood they're looking for. Set that up before you start working, because as you saw, the only thing I didn't have loaded was the synth, but everything else was already pretty much ready. And look how fast I did that. So have a template ready in place if you can, and you can add to it or take away from it, but usually I just add to it, specifically if I'm looking for a specific sound in my head. So the last tip that I wanted to give is think outside of the box. So this one quick example that I wanted to give in thinking, as far as thinking out of the box goes is, this one scene is for a film I did a long time ago, right? Like 7 or 8 years ago, called Tethered. And I remember I showed him this as the music. And I kind of just compiled it here real quick so I can do an A and B kind of thing. But and I remember showing that to the director, and he liked it. It's fine, it works. But I remember he wasn't 100% happy with it. He kept telling me, Chris kept telling me, like, yeah, it just feels it needs more tension. It feels it needs more drive. It needs something crazy. And I thought, okay, well, what can I do that's out of the box that can sort of work for this? And I sort of came up with this idea here. So I'm going to turn off the picture so you're not distracted by that. So. And I mean, if that doesn't scream tension to you, then I don't know what will. But anyways, I came up with that. That was a really outside of the box kind of thing. I quite literally took 3 instances of, I think it was Signal, or I forgot, it's this other plugin by Output. And I kind of layered them on top of each other. And then I put that in a plugin in Ableton called Pendulum, which is, I don't know, it's one of these Max for Live plugins. I forget, it was so long ago. And then I played around with the little knobs and filters and stuff like that, automated a couple of things, and that came out of it. So then I started playing with that a little bit, adding strings to it, and I didn't know if it would work. I mean, it sounded fine to me, but I don't know if it was maybe at the time it felt a little like too crazy because it's not very traditional scoring. It sounded more like sound design, but I sent it to Chris and he loved it. And it's true. I mean, when you watch it now against the scene, it totally kind of works. So if I were to mute this here, you'll see it in the scene, and please ignore the alarm. There's like, I don't know who the sound designed this, but the alarm is very annoying on this. Let's see. So here's the music.
Drive.
He's going to make it.
Drive. Jay, drive!
And it totally worked. Again, outside of the box, it was very different. And I actually used that approach in the rest of the score, and it actually ended up being one of my favorite scores that I've done personally. So try always to think outside of the box. Try to think how you can approach it differently. Sound design is a very popular one, especially if you mentioned to the director that you're going to sample sounds of things that are within that world or that element. I mean, I don't know what is it about filmmakers and people in general. They freak out when you come up with stuff like that. Like I remember I did this short film for Leah Marie Johnson called Lady in the Walls. And I came up with the idea of having scratching sounds be part of the soundtrack. So it'll be, and I made sort of like this little lo-fi beat out of it. And this is 2014. I made a little lo-fi beat out of the scratches the pulsing bass and some strings or whatever. The director flipped. He thought I was like a genius for coming up with that. And most people will think you're a genius for it. I don't understand why, because people have been doing this for a long time already. It's nothing new, but whatever. It's just the way it is. So if you want to approach it that way, that's a very creative way of approaching it. And it's actually works. It sounds great at the end of the day if you want to approach it that way. Otherwise, another good tip I can give you is laying down temp music from some of your favorite composers, whether it's, I don't know, if I wanted to do an action scene, I know how to approach it. Good ways just to, temp in some of your own music, some of your favorite composers. Like, let's say if you're doing an orchestral thing that's very actiony and it has sort of a 90s kind of vibe to it. I don't know, but you can drop in a Jerry Goldsmith kind of action cue in there, or you can drop in a Hans Zimmer kind of thing or a Ludwig Göransson kind of thing. If you're going for that thing from Tenet, I mean, that's a fantastic soundtrack. You can drop it in there and try to sort of imitate that in your own way. And you already have ideas to start with. It's not just a blank canvas. It's just not an empty void. You have something to start with. So those are some tips I can give you. Remember, long notes, dropping out instruments, sound design, risers, and stuff like that. Don't negate those. Those are very, very powerful. And remember, the most important tip that I can give, it's about the story. Don't let your ego or your music get in the way. It's always about surfacing the story. Now, in the next video, I'm going to go more in depth on how I approach these scenes little by little, and with more musical examples. I'm going to be composing live and showing you how I tackle those things fairly quickly, and how you can get to that place very quickly as well. I think with the tips that I already gave you, that should speed up your work way, way faster, because again, you're doing all that work up front. It's the same when you're doing when I do designs for my job and stuff like that, for the government or whatever, I come up with everything that I has to go into it first, all the stories and everything, and then I go into the design. It's much easier already to design because all the questions have been asked, everything's been cleared up front. I did all the research and everything, and it just makes it that much easier instead of just going into the design or going into composing without knowing anything up front. So guys, I hope that was really helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always more than happy to help. Always more than happy to give my advice and help out in any way I can. And the next one's going to be a lot longer. I know this is pretty short, but I hope you still enjoyed it. I hope you get something useful out of it, and I'll see you in the next one.